Myself. He'd lose it if he knew. And then I stood in our bedroom as a faint morning light seeped through the curtains. In my hands, I held Sophia's silk scarf. It was soft, delicate, the kind of accessory she'd wear to an upscale hospital fundraiser or a night out with her colleagues. But at that moment, it felt like a knife twisting in my chest. The scent hit me immediately, a strong, musky cologne that wasn't mine, clinging to the fabric like an unwelcome intruder. At first, I tried to dismiss it, convincing myself it was nothing. Maybe she'd hugged a co-worker at the hospital, someone with poor taste in aftershave. But then I saw it, a lipstick mark, bold and crimson, smeared along the edge. It was a shade Sophia never wore. My stomach churned. I stood there, frozen, my thoughts racing while my body remained still. 13 years of marriage, and this was how it all began to crumble. Not in a dramatic confrontation, but in a quiet, heart-wrenching moment I couldn't ignore. I had been ignoring the warning signs for months. Her late nights at the hospital had become routine, her explanations vague, extra shifts, paperwork piling up. I hadn't questioned her. I trusted her. She was a pediatrician, dedicated to saving children's lives. And me? I was buried in my own work as a financial advisor, ensuring our life in Maplewood Heights remained comfortable. We had a solid setup, a spacious house with a wraparound porch, Liam and Emma playing in the backyard, a marriage that seemed strong to anyone looking from the outside. But that scarf changed everything. I dropped it onto the dresser and turned away, only to notice something else. My shirt, the one she had thrown on last night after spilling wine on her dress, hung over the chair. I picked it up, and there it was, another lipstick stain, the same vivid red. My chest tightened. This wasn't just an affair. She was leaving clues, as if she wanted me to figure it out. I don't know how long I stood there, clutching the fabric, my thoughts spiraling. Down the hall, the kids were still asleep. Liam, 11, probably dreaming about soccer, and Emma, 8, curled up with her stuffed bear she never let go of. The house was quiet, but inside my head there was nothing but chaos. How long had this been going on? Who was he? A doctor she worked with? A patient's father? My mind conjured images of her laughing with someone else, her hand resting on his arm while I was home making dinner for our kids. My throat burned. I wanted to storm upstairs, wake her up, and demand the truth. But I didn't. Instead, I carefully placed the shirt back, smoothing out the wrinkles as if nothing was wrong, and went downstairs to make coffee. And that's when it hit me. Sophia hadn't just betrayed my trust. She had shattered the foundation of us. And worse, she was daring me to do something about it. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Sophia came downstairs, smiling as if nothing had changed. Her hair was still damp from the shower. "Morning, Daniel," she greeted, wrapping her hands around her coffee cup like it was any ordinary day. I nodded, murmuring a response, but my eyes kept drifting to her neck. Was that cologne still on her skin? Did she even care if I noticed? She kissed the kids goodbye, grabbed her bags, and walked out the door. I stood at the kitchen window, watching her car pull out of the driveway, my hands gripping the sink. 13 years, 2 kids, a life I thought belonged to both of us. And now this. I didn't know what my next move was, but one thing was certain. I wasn't going to be played for a fool. Not anymore. That scarf, that lipstick, they weren't just evidence. They were the beginning of something I couldn't ignore, something that had the power to change everything I thought I knew about my wife, my family, and even myself. He'd lose it if he knew. And then, the worst part, he still thinks we're just going through a rough patch. "Poor guy," Marcus replied. "At least he makes a great babysitter while you're with me." The words made my stomach churn. It felt like all the air had been sucked out of the room. I sat there, staring at the screen, my heart pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. Each message was like a knife slicing through 13 years of trust. Sophia wasn't just unfaithful. She was mocking me, laughing behind my back, reducing me to nothing more than a clueless fool. Poor guy. That's what she called me. The same man who had stayed up with her during sleepless nights in med school, who had held her hand to the pain of childbirth, who had built his entire life around her. And now I was nothing but a joke. My grip on the phone tightened. For a split second, I wanted to hurl it against the wall, let it shatter like everything else. But I didn't. Upstairs, the shower turned off, and the floorboards creaked under Sophia's footsteps. I placed the phone back exactly where I found it, turned the coffee maker, and took a slow breath. Outwardly, I was calm. Inside, I was falling apart. A few minutes later, she walked into the kitchen, wrapped in a robe, her damp hair falling over her shoulders. "Morning," she said casually, reaching for a mug as if it were any ordinary day. I handed her the coffee. "Morning," I replied. She smiled. Too quickly, the kind of forced grin you give a stranger in passing. I studied her face, searching for something: guilt, hesitation, regret, anything. But there was nothing. She was calm, composed, as if she hadn't spent months deceiving me. I wanted to yell, to demand answers. Who the hell is Marcus? How long has this been going on? But I said nothing. I simply stood there, sipping my coffee, letting the silence stretch between us. When she kissed me goodbye, it was faint, barely there. Then she walked out the door. I waited until her car disappeared down the driveway before heading into the bathroom, locking the door behind me. And then I hit the mirror. The glass shattered on impact. My knuckles split open, blood seeping from the wounds. But I didn't feel a thing. All I felt was rage. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I dropped the kids at school, went to my office, and stared blankly at my computer screen. Figures and charts blurred together. Client investments, profit margins, none of it registered. All I could see were those texts. "When are you telling him?" She was planning to leave me, and Marcus knew. I replayed every interaction I'd had with him. I'd shaken his hand at hospital events, exchanged polite conversations. Had he been laughing at me then? And Sophia, how long had she been sneaking away to be with him? The Lakehurst mansion. She'd told me it was a work retreat last month. I had believed her. That same weekend, I had taken Liam and Emma to the park, played with them, tucked them into bed, and all along she had been with him. My chest tightened, a brutal mix of anger and humiliation. I had trusted her completely, and they had turned me into a fool. By the time I got home, the kids were finishing their homework. I moved through the motions on autopilot, making dinner, chicken and rice, their favorite. Sophia texted, "Late again. Hospital stuff." I didn't react. Once the kids were asleep, I sat alone in the dimly lit living room, letting it all sink in. She wasn't just having an affair. She was done with me, with us, and she had been stringing me along, waiting for the right moment to walk away. The messages proved it. Months of deceit unraveling piece by piece while I held everything together. The scarf, the lipstick, the cologne, none of it had been an accident. She had left them like breadcrumbs, daring me to follow. Maybe she wanted me to explode, to lash out, so she could paint me as the bad guy and walk away without guilt. But I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. Not yet. I would stay quiet, observe, and plan my next move. Because if Sophia thought she could shatter me and walk away smiling, she was dead wrong.